It's Ash from SuperVideos back for another video for The Walking Dead: The Ones Who Live. In this video, we're going to be taking a look and breaking down the two timelines that we're going to see in the third episode of the first season of The Ones Who Live, which is titled Bye. Now, this is actually quite interesting, especially if we consider the timelines and format of the first two episodes, because it's slightly different, but it has the same vibes. I'll explain what I mean by that, so stay tuned. We'll be right back with this explained video. Alright, as always, before we dive into it, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. With that said, let's dive right into it. Now, of course, the first episode featured Rick for the most part, and we saw at the very end the reunion between Rick and Michonne. But we basically saw Rick's journey 6 years after his disappearance all the way to the current timeline. Of course, with a lot of time skips in between. Now with Michonne's episode, in the second one, we saw most of Michonne, but we saw a bit of Rick as well. More of Rick in the second episode than we saw of Michonne in the first episode. Of course, with Michonne, it showed us a journey of what happened to her from her last episode on the main show all the way to the current timeline. Again, with some time jumps. And of course, in this third episode, it appears that we're going to see a 50-50 between the two. And it's not like all is going to be in the same timeline. Both Rick and Michonne are at the CRM, but it appears that the timelines are going to be different. We've seen some pictures and scenes from the teasers and trailers that show us Rick at the Civic Republic still wearing his consignment jacket. So this appears to be a flashback of when Rick first got to the CRM. And of course, there are other scenes where he's seen looking up at the windmills at the Civic Republic, and he's really in awe of what he's seeing. Of course, like I said, this appears to be a flashback, and it's possibly when Rick first got to the Civic Republic. Of course, many people thought that because we didn't get that in the first episode, we're not going to get it, but appears they are going to go back to those moments and possibly even revisit when Rick first got there, how he healed from his injuries from the bridge and all of that. But take a look at where he is. This seems to parallel what we see with Michonne in this episode. Now, of course, the difference is that Michonne's story will be in the current timeline. She's also wearing a CRM consignment jacket in the current timeline. We can even see her looking up at something. This could very well be the exact same thing Rick saw when he first got there. And she could also be in awe of what she's witnessing. But there's also some other stuff there in this episode based on the pictures and the teasers that point to possibly another multi-timeline situation in this episode. Of course, we have this shot of Rick in some sort of corridor, and it seems like this is some sort of a tunnel. But of course, this is the current timeline because Rick is wearing his CRM uniform. We can see that clearly here as well. On the flip side, with the shots of Michonne, we can see her in the same type of environment, but this appears to be a flashback. And the reason why I say that is because she has her katana. She wouldn't have her katana if this was the current timeline, unless she steals it back or something, but I doubt that they're gonna do that. I think this is more likely a flashback, and the shot of Rick in the same area is probably in the current timeline. Now, when we first saw this, a lot of us thought that it'll be a situation where we see Michonne being in the same areas as Rick was at some point, and it's a way to really show us that they're there in the exact same area but at different times to tease at their reunion, in a way to say this is how close they got to reuniting. But of course, with their actual reunion, which we saw, this wouldn't quite have the same impact. So because of that, I feel like how they're going to really approach this is show Rick in the current timeline visiting areas where Michonne was at when she was searching for him. So it's like a flip of what we originally thought. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to go through in this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.